Excuse me. Hello and welcome to a post-Christmas, slightly snowy, beautiful Nova Scotia. Welcome to my channel, The Optimistic Gardener. My name is Steve Farley. What day is it today? I believe it's the 27th of December, so that's a Monday. Everyone, I suppose, is still sitting around feeling rather bloated from their Christmas festivities, even though obviously a lot of people won't have been able to celebrate as they normally do. I still think everybody has mostly had a chance to eat as much as they can. Not me, I'm still having a bit of trouble eating at the moment, but that's a different story. But for all you people that may be bloated and feeling like you need to do a bit of exercise, I thought I would give you a few little jobs you can be doing around the garden to maybe work off a bit of that excess eating that you did over Christmas, and also to be thinking now, we're just about into the new year, thinking about how we can make our garden better and get better vegetables, better plants in 2021 by thinking about and doing some jobs now. One of the jobs I've just been doing, I've just been down the local stables to get a load of horse manure, and I managed to sort of get myself around the back and dig under and get some really good steaming, well rotted manure that I can put straight on to the actual beds themselves. So that's number one, my number one tip for getting a really good harvest of plants and flowers, etc., is feed the soil. Not the actual vegetables, feed the soil. And one of the jobs feeding the soil is getting a good mulch of compost or well rotted horse manure onto the actual beds, you know. And I've been saying that you should be doing it from the autumn time. If you haven't done it, now's a great time to be doing it. Get out there, get a bit of shoveling, phone up your local stables if you get a chance. They're often trying to get rid of their horse manure for free. Anything like that, and just get it out, throw it onto your garden beds. And if it's fresh horse manure, make a little pile, you know, stick it in the compost. As you can see here, this is pretty fresh stuff in this compost bin. A bit whiffy, still got, you know, the grass, etc. in there, but that's in my compost heap now, and I'll leave that in there for the next 4 or 5 months, and that'll be ready to put on the beds nice and aged by April, May time. Nice free resource. Job's definitely a good one there. And I've spoken about this before. You don't have to dig it in, just lay it on top. We want to try and not disturb the soil underneath. We want to just feed it, give it that mulch over the top, and then the nutrients will be taken down by the microorganisms, the worms, etc., into the ground, and also the rain and just the weather itself will just leach it into the soil, ready for the springtime. So number one tip, get feeding your soil, get mulch in it, get out and do a bit of shoveling poo. So just about the most important job you want to be doing at this time of year is planning what you actually want to grow in all your garden beds. So what I normally do is have a sit down, usually in the kitchen, but now I can do it in my new greenhouse. Have a sit down, normally with a nice cup of tea, and think about all the vegetables that I want to grow. Use all your different seed catalogues to give you some inspiration maybe, and also draw out your sort of plan of your planting area. So all your different raised beds, draw them out on a plan like so, and that will give you a sort of available space. And then that plan that you take, that you've drawn, photocopy it or print it out from the computer, whatever. Print 12 copies out. And what I do is I take all the list of the veg that I want to grow and the 12 copies of the veg, and I'll create myself a planting calendar basically. And there's a video up there on the full how to do your sort of planning a garden, but you know, planning your vegetables or whatever it is you're going to grow all the way through the year will give you a great head start to understand, so that you can get succession planting in and getting the plants in the right place and starting your seeds at the right time. And that's what I do. I basically plan for each month what's going to be in the different beds. By doing those 12 different plans, creating this planting calendar, listing out what I want to plant, then I say, right, I need to put the seeds in at this point, and they should be ready to plant out at this point, etc, etc. And then referring to that throughout the year. Doesn't always work, you know, another sort of service saying, all plans change on contact with the enemy, and the enemy in this case is just life and failures in the garden, which we're all going to have. But at least you've got that plan to start with, and then you can say, right, I need to start sowing these seeds again at this point so that I can make sure that they're ready to succession plant, say when your early salads start to bolt, then you're going to be putting some other plants in, etc, etc, all the way through, so you can make use of all of the space that you have the most efficiently throughout the year. And obviously, listing out what plants you want to grow, you want to get your seeds on order, don't you? So that you get the seeds that you want when you want them to get planting along the way. So the weather, and winter particularly, takes its toll on our gardens, especially if you've got raised beds, etc. So another good tip to get yourself going is go around and inspect all your beds, making sure, for instance, everything is secure. This could do with a screwing back in a bit, but just have a general look around all your beds, make sure everything is secure, nothing is falling away, broken. Oh yeah. So related to the whole infrastructure stream, what about your tools? All your gardening tools like your secateurs, are they ready for the new season? These, I know I need a good sharpening, and there's a bit of rust around there, so I need to give these a good clean up in the next few weeks, ready for the new season. And I'll do an actual video itself on cleaning up your tools. But things like, for the last couple of years, this fork, which is not going to play the game now, so you know, if I get working on something, it tends to right, I'm going to do this, it tends to come out a lot easier than that. So when I'm digging, it tends to come out. So really and truly, I need a new fork. But making sure all your tools are in good condition, they're not too rusty, get rid of the rust, give them a good oiling. That is a very important job that you want to be doing now, because soon, and it creeps up on you, spring, seed, sowing, planting will come upon us, and you'll be rushing around doing all your different jobs, and you'll be doing them with substandard tools that will end up breaking just when you don't need them breaking. So have a look at your tools, make sure they're nice and clean, get rid of the rust, any oil on them, sharpen your secateurs, etc. So give your tools a good going over. And again, related, because it's all really related really, more tools for the job. What about all your pots and your seed trays? Very soon we're going to be starting to sow seeds, especially your tomatoes and peppers, etc. So have you got enough seeds? Have you got enough trays? Have you got enough seed trays, pots, etc. to do all the different seed sowing that you want post your planning that you did earlier? Have you got enough for that? Is all of that kit working? Is it broken, etc.? You know, one of the my ideals, one of my strategies, one of my wants of last year was to cut down on my use of plastic, and I'm still really wanting to do that this year even more. You know, basically what I'm trying to say is I want to eliminate the use of plastic in my garden at some stage, but reduce it as much as is possible, reuse as much as is possible. And one of those, one of the strategies I have for that was making seed trays a sturdy bit of kit. So you could be knocking seed trays up, you know, in the weather when it's chucking it down. I think you've had, in the UK, you had Storm Bella or something like that, Bertha, Big Bertha, I don't know, I can't exactly remember what it is. But, you know, if you can't get yourself out in the garden, then, excuse me a sec, I've just got to move the camera. There's a bit of dripping from the roof getting on there. Let me move that over a bit. Okay. So, you know, if you can't get out in the garden, get inside and make yourself something. Make yourself some new seed trays, pots, planters, etc. Get ahead of the game, thinking about it now. What do I need for the actual coming season ahead? And another one of those aims, you know, to help my sort of environmental aims from last year was to completely eliminate the use of peat-based potting composts, soils, etc. From my use in the garden. It's not sustainable. I don't care what anybody says. It takes thousands of years for peat to form. How can you harvest it sustainably? And every time you dig it up, you're letting carbon, etc., out into the atmosphere, which is not good. So eliminating peat-based potting soils from my garden, and one of those things, you know, I've said before in the autumn was me using more leaf mould in the garden, and you know, I've been sieving that all the way through the autumn. So more compost, and you know, I've been using creating more compost in my with my compost heaps and the shredder that I bought, etc. But also, you know, if you don't have that ability, now is a good time to be researching, phoning up the different, whether it be garden centres or your local DIY stores. Do they have non-peat potting soils like coir, etc.? So getting yourself around, knowing where you can get hold of that sort of stuff rather than using peat is a good thing to be doing now. And again, so we've got our trays, we've got our potting composts all sorted, non-peat based, and we've done our planning earlier. We're already ahead of the game, and those, you know, that maxim that I learned so many years ago in the Royal Navy, 5 P's, prior preparation prevents poor performance. You're ahead of the game already. So obviously other great jobs you can be doing in January or in the next few months, even though the weather's, you know, especially here in Nova Scotia, we get some pretty awful weather. Build something. Either, you know, I'm building this greenhouse, or you could make yourself a new garden bed like this one here. But I recently did a new flower bed, or it could be a new raised bed. But if you're not actually got a chance to build something, you know, outside, like I said with the seed trays, etc., you can build some planters, seed trays, or get your wife or your husband to build them for you. Lots of different jobs you can be doing in the winter, but also you can be planning. Get yourself, if you've got a new, like the bed that I've just created, if the weather's not good enough for you to be able to do it, you haven't got the equipment, what do you need to make that bed? Are you going to make it out of rocks? Are you going to make it out of wood? How much is that going to cost? Where are you going to get it from? You can do all of that planning at this time of year when you can't get outside, and then you're ready to rock and roll. As soon as the weather's good, you've saved up enough money, bang, straight out, ahead of the game, ready for the new year. So most of you who follow me on my channel know that I've only just built this greenhouse, and well, I'm still in the process of fitting it out on the inside. And I've just a few weeks ago knocked up this raised bed, but down below here I've just put some mulch down onto the floor, but it's pine mulch. And when I came into the greenhouse just then, I had this wonderful scent, because the greenhouse has heated up quite a bit. It was about 13 degrees yesterday. I think it's about 8 degrees today. There's not that much sun, but that just heats up and just releases a bit of the pine smell from the mulch. Absolutely beautiful. But there's a few 4 or 5, 6 tips there for you to get ahead of the game now, so that, you know, next year, if you're deciding to do the project or whatever that project is you're thinking about, you could be, like me, growing some nice salad next winter or this spring, this summer, beyond the end of the fruits of all your planning that you did in these next month or so, getting yourself ready for the new planting season. And I'm already all excited, especially with this, you know, this greenhouse that I've got now. I've got so much more space there to be putting all my seeds out, etc. And hopefully with another bed that I'm planning to be building in the next few weeks in the middle here, think about a 10 foot by 4 foot bed in the middle of this greenhouse. I'm going to be on the end of some extra fresh veg next winter and this summer, etc, etc. So hopefully you can find those tips useful. Keep yourself busy, start to work off that excess from Christmas, and you'll be having a wonderful time this summer. Job's a good one.